Welcome to the Booktrovert Babes podcast, where two friends decided to bring our dramatic conversations about books here for your entertainment. I'm Rubik's mom of 5 and a baby reader just entering my book era.
And I'm Taylor, a mom of 2 and a well-seasoned book veteran. And on today's podcast, we're going to be talking shelf trophies. Only one of us actually has them, and that one of us is trying very hard to get the other one to expand past her one that she has purchased this year.
I don't know if I can say that's true now. Well, yeah, I mean, I have the one, but it's kind of a trophy.
But you didn't buy it necessarily to be a trophy. You bought it because there was no other way to consume that book without having owned it. I'm trying to get you to have a little less shelf control and purchase some actual trophies.
We'll see. We'll get there. Let's talk about it some. Okay, I know we went over this in our Booktrovert vocab episode a while back, but define shelf trophy.
So a shelf trophy is basically a purchased book with the intent that you've already read it or you're going to read it, so it needs to be displayed on your bookshelf because it's a trophy. I've accomplished this book. I've won, added it to the Goodreads book challenge. It's in there either from the current year, past years, however, wherever you read it. Now it's a trophy to display in my case, aka the bookcase.
See, I think mine qualifies.
Now, when we started this journey in the podcast land that we have now begun, you didn't own that book. You were very much against book trophies.
Yes. Not necessarily against, I just didn't have a reason. But I didn't buy this book for the shelf trophy purpose. However, I bought it because there was no other way for me to read it. I had to read the physical copy of it. Mm-hmm. And now that I've finished it, it is definitely like on my shelf in because we have these big cabinets that have glass doors with the shelves behind it. It's on there, standing tall.
I like that it's now, not only is yours like a trophy, it's literally in a trophy case, as in protected from the elements, like not even dust will touch that book.
Yeah, no kidding. And not only that, but like all my little annotation flags are still sticking out. Because I'm not removing them. I'm keeping them in there.
All the crazy still left behind for everyone to be like, oh wow, you really liked that book. You annotated so much.
I
had no choice.
I'm actually working too, because the whole point, like the whole beginning of the crazy of that book involves measuring things. I'm actually going to get like a little ribbon tape measure and have it hanging out as like the bookmark.
So you'll buy decor pieces for your one book trophy, but you won't add to the trophy case?
It's an accomplishment. That book is an accomplishment.
Okay, but you loved other books and you have never once thought about buying them.
That's true. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying this is definitely a shelf trophy.
It flabbergasts me that you will not buy the Black Witch Chronicle, which you always find a way to talk about, but you're going to buy decor pieces for this one book?
You're not buying decor pieces. I'm using a tape measure to have as a bookmark because it's funny.
Okay. But you use that tape measure when you're doing clothing things with your kids or you're measuring something. So if you ruin that one, you then need to buy a new one. So you essentially bought decor for the book.
I mean, they're cheap, but yeah.
You're buying decor for a book, but you won't buy another book, is my point.
I haven't yet. I'm learning, okay?
I have been trying to get you to buy a book for a year plus at this point. And the first one, first of all, I'm a little offended that the first book you ever bought actually had nothing to do with me because I've been begging you to buy a book for so long.
Okay, but this book is a different breed of book. Okay, can we just... It is worthy of being my first shelf trophy because it is a totally different kind of book.
But would you not say that like the special edition of Hooked, which is a beautiful book, that could be a great conversational piece? That's a book that you'll never open. You can just display it in all its beauty.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just still thinking about it, okay? But like that's also one that if I get that one, then I'm gonna be upset if I don't get the whole series. And it's like a random kind of edition. So like, what if there aren't any more? Like, what if there are special editions for the next books? What if they don't look like that one?
I mean, That's kind of the point of the Never After series, is none of them are the same.
I won't like it.
So you won't buy special editions, but that's not how special. Most of the time, you can't buy an entire series in one. It's like here's one, 3 months later, here's the next one. So the special edition of Icebreaker that we all pre-ordered,
formatted the same.
That's the risk.
Are they going to be the same size?
Special
Are they going to be the same theme?
Typically, if it's the same one who made it. So think of the special edition Icebreaker that we all just got. The announcement for Wildfire, which is the second book, that is identical in the sense of the same size, same I don't know who the maker of the first one was, but it's the same for the second one, but in the theme of the second one, with the knowledge that the third one's coming. There's a special edition of fine print coming out next year with the knowledge that the next two are going to be coming, but they typically do it in blocks because especially for collector pieces, they're obviously more expensive. They're being nice to those of us little book collectors who are like, I want all of them, but I can't afford to buy $35 books, but all three at the same time. So they give you a little bit of a break. Most of the time, it is going to come back around. I don't necessarily know with the Hooked one because she hasn't made any announcement regarding that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm worried about with those is I know it's not a series in the way other books like that we're going to be talking about are series, but if it's going to be a series, I'm going to want to have them together. And they need to at least be the same size and I want them the same theme. So it's kind of just like, I don't know what the other ones are going to look like.
So what was your excuse for not doing the Empyrean series? Because that's all Red Tower. I was going to say, that's all Red Tower. So you know it's all going to be the same. The sprayed edges change a little bit per edition.
It's all money. Like, honestly, the only reason why I didn't get those when it was a big deal was money. But also I noticed that everybody was having issues with their orders. And
mine was great.
I know, but a lot of people had issues with their orders. They were having them returned. Some of them were supposed to be sprayed edges, but didn't have sprayed edges. And all of this stuff was going on. And so I was a little wary of spending that much money on something and then having it come back wrong. I'm not going to go return a book. I don't have enough time for that. I don't have enough time to order it in the first place. I'm not going to go return it if it's not right.
I'm just thinking, I think because we both, how we spend our freebie money, not freebie, but our hobby money.
Yeah,
think of how many, think of how many Steam games you've bought and have collected dust. There's cobwebs brewing on those bad boys because you have not touched them in forever. You maybe didn't spend that many hours on said game. When's the last time you played Among Us? When's the last, there's a couple of games I know that are in your Steam that you haven't touched.
Among Us is free.
On your phone, not on Steam. I mean, granted on Steam, it's $1.99. Oh, I thought you did.
No, I didn't buy it on Steam.
You bought Pico Park.
I play Among Us on my Switch. Pico Park I bought to play with you bitches. You're always busy.
Every time we played, you were busy.
Before I got it, but then after I got it, nobody wanted to play it anymore.
We did a couple of times and you didn't play because you were busy. We did with Kaylee and with Alex and with Ryan and with Tish.
I feel like that's not true.
No, we did do it with Mel.
I've played. I don't think that's true because I am certain
Mel played.
That I would have played if y'all were playing.
I played with Mel. I've absolutely played with Mel. Because she kept jumping on top of my head so that I couldn't jump.
I think I played that one time with y'all.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think we got to play very long for that.
No, we didn't get to play very long. But every time y'all played, I didn't have it yet. And then I finally got it, and y'all didn't play it anymore.
Well, that's was on you because you waited months.
Listen, money. I didn't have the money.
$3.99. It was $3.99.
I didn't have the $3.99.
Do you have other games?
Yes, I have.
That's what I'm saying. I don't have other games. I know, but that's the thing. You prioritize your Steam purchases. I prioritize my trophies. And I don't have games. Mainly because my computer can't handle them. So I don't need to buy them because they won't work anyway.
I really don't. You act like I buy things on Steam often. It's very rare that I buy anything on Steam. The last couple things I've gotten on Steam have been gifts.
That's fair. But one of the last games you got, if you think of the amount that was, it's a book.
Okay, that's fair. But games, I will play more than once. Books, I will not read more than once. I will read it once. This one, House of Leaves, I might read more than once because there's a couple of different ways to read it. You can read it without the footnotes. You can read it with the footnotes. You can read them in order. You can not read it out of order. It's a whole thing. So I might reread it. But even if I don't, it was a whole experience. It's like those, good example. Have you ever heard of the game Pandemic?
No.
Okay, so it's a board game, but it's like very active in like you change the board each time you play, and it's like a series, like it calls it a series, or you have season 1, season 2, season 3. So the boards are different, and like whatever happens in your story, you change it. Like you go as far as to like put stickers over it to uncover portions of the board, and then also take away portions of the board that are no longer going to be usable for the rest of your game, things like that. So like the board changes where you can't change it back. So you play that game one time, you can't replay that game. You have to buy it again. I did not buy them. My friend bought them, but it took us months to get through the game as a whole. So that made sense to me. Had we gotten through that game the first night that we played, or even the first 3 nights that we played, I would have been like, don't buy any more of these. There's no point in spending $30 on a board game that we can only play once. Like it's just a logical thing for me. Books, I'm only going to read it once. I'm not going to reread it. So I'm just not a rereader. So I don't see the point in spending money on that. Movies, different. I'll rewatch movies all the time. That's different. I'll buy movies. Books, it just doesn't hit me like that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I am a rereader, but I haven't reread some of my trophies. A couple of them I have.
How many shelf trophies do you have?
Are we talking about my standard of I bought the book that I had already read?
I'm talking about what you consider a shelf trophy. How many do you have?
All of them.
But
they're all, to me, all of the ones that I have read are a shelf trophy. As soon as I finish a book and it gets placed on the shelf and it's a completed read, it is now a shelf trophy.
Okay, so mine qualifies under that too?
Yeah. Yeah, yours is now a shelf trophy once completing it.
Yeah.
For me,
how many would you consider a shelf trophy? Like, barring not everyone, but just the ones that you got for decorative purposes. How many shelf trophies do you have?
I'm looking at it. Hold on. I have to think. Well, I'm trying to realistically think of the ones that I bought this edition versus the regular standard print edition, because to me, all my books are a shelf trophy. However, there are certain, like this whole stack, there's 2 versions of it, technically 3, but I'm not getting covers with men on them. So technically these are all special editions. These I got special editions of. That's a special edition. Technically, this is an OG print of this book. They no longer make it, so I had to have it. Those are all special editions with blue sprayed edges. Those are blue sprayed edges. I don't know if my Boys of Toman one, technically, because I started buying them and then Bloom took over. So that was like a happy accident of a shelf trophy kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if I would qualify those as, I mean, I know you qualify all of them as shelf trophies, but I'm almost saying that the new covers don't really count as shelf trophies.
But did the old ones? Because now I technically own duplicates of every single book.
If I had done that, I would have gotten rid of the old ones.
See, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
They're staying right where they are.
Maybe they're shelf trophies of like, those are the hipster shelf trophies.
I would say probably half of my books, there was an intent on the edition in which I purchased. A lot of them, there are no special editions. It's just a cookie cutter. This is the one you get. This is the one we have. Mm-hmm. So I would probably say about half of I own over 300 books between what I physically have in my home and what I have in storage. What I physically have in my home is about 170. So I would say about half of those were purchased with the intent of the edition that I purchased.
Being the shelf trophy.
Yeah.
Okay. You said something about blue sprayed edges. What does that mean? Is that something specific for specific books, or is that like a general thing?
So for that particular one, they're blue. Like the Empyrean ones have black sprayed edges. One of my books has a pink sprayed edge. It just depends on what the author essentially picked for it. But
so they're just sprayed edges in general, not
So the Off-Campus series had men on the cover in their original production. Bloom took over. They redid them, so they're like the cutesy, I wouldn't say comic art. They're the cutesy artwork style now. For the first edition, like bonus, if you bought the entire series as a bundle, they came sprayed. So all of those are sprayed edged blue with the new cartoon covers. Then her companion series, the Briar U series, she did the same thing again. So for me, I was like, well, I can't own the off-campus series with blue sprayed edges and not the Briar U series with blue sprayed edges. So I have those. I do not have duplicates of them though, because I never bought the original covers because they all had men or women in weird outfits on the covers, and I'm not doing that. So
yeah, I wouldn't do that
waited
either.
and I have all the new versions of those series with the blue sprayed edges because I bought them first edition. It's like the same with the Fourth Wing holiday edition that she released last year that has a black sprayed edge. It came out the same day as Iron Flame, which also has the black sprayed edges. And then I've ordered special editions of things like the Souls trilogy. There's like specialty boxes for companies where they work exclusively with an author and do something
they
there.
do like
so,
a bundle with like
yes, like a book box.
And
So there was a company called The Fated Romance. They only do non-human romance specialty boxes, and they did her Souls trilogy, and I did those. I had to. They were gorgeous. There were two options. There was one that was like just the books with
I've
some
seen
stickers.
those.
And
They're really pretty.
I have to figure out a way to like really truly display them because they're so pretty. And then like I own all the Harry Potter books, but I will have, I don't know which company it is. I'll have to look at it, but there's a company that does all of the books in the color design of your Hogwarts house. So there's a specialty edition Ravenclaw of the series. It's $170. So that is like
I've seen like the whole series, and they have each house.
And they have all 4 houses. I want the Ravenclaw because duh. But it's $175. That is one of those things that I'm like, when I am dumb rich or I have dumb spare cash, I will buy that for myself. That is not something I'm ever just going to buy on a whim. Like I have to earn it. I have to have a really good saving. Like that is not a special edition that I'm just going to buy on a whim. Like
that's something you got to like save up for
shelf control.
For a purpose.
Yes. And then if I have the book already, down the line a special edition comes out of it. If the special edition is beautiful enough, I will buy it. And then I will now have more than one edition. Like the Souls trilogy, I technically have 3 copies of 2 of the books. I'm waiting for the third one's release date of when that one's special edition that matches the first 2 will be coming out, and I'll be getting it. And then I will probably have to cut myself off because I feel as though 3 copies of a trilogy series, I should probably draw the line now.
Slightly excessive.
I should probably draw the line, but they're beautiful.
Here's the thing that gets me too about shelf trophies. Like, I feel like you need an adequate space. Like, you have so many shelf trophies. Like, you've got so many special editions with sprayed edges and all like special covers and stuff, but you don't display them like that. They're just on the shelf like regular books.
Not all of them. For the one I'm currently, like how I'm sitting in front of them, they are. Mainly because for what you can see is the dark romance and the fantasy shelf. I'm not the biggest fantasy girl, so it doesn't bother me that those aren't that displayed. Yeah. But I do want to find a way to do it for the Souls trilogy because of those editions. I have another bookshelf that I'm reworking to accommodate more of the special editions because I have a couple more coming this month for December, and I'm just trying to think of the best way to display them. The nice thing is they're all hardbacks, so they'll stand on their own if I were to like display them that way. But like my Archer's Voice one is displayed in the front. My red, white, and royal blue one is like displayed so it's facing forward on the bookshelf. So for those, I do try to give them a nice display. But for the other ones, I just haven't figured out how I quite want to do it. The main thing is I think I just need to cave and buy a new bookshelf. Like if I had the space, I would just buy another one of these white ones that is behind me, because then I could easily do it with the books I have in the special editions. That's why I reset my bookshelf so often, is they take turns being displayed. Like this is your season to be displayed. Yeah, like it's your season to be displayed. It's not your turn yet. You'll be next. Like I just need to succumb and get another bookshelf so that they can all be displayed at the same time.
I will say I have had like little dreams of having shelf trophies, but I wouldn't be able to put them like on the shelf like any other book. They would have to have like a special stand and be facing a certain direction where it's slightly angled so you can see the binding, you can see the cover, and or the edges, like whatever that is. Shoot, I would even be, for some of them, if it was a really special book, I'd probably get a freaking rotating stand or some kind of craziness so that it could.
You're like, just way more.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, if I'm going to go all out and do that kind of stuff, I'm going to go all out and do that kind of stuff.
So whichever one would be on the rotating one, would that be your favorite shelf trophy? Or would you have them all be on a rotating one? Because I have a favorite shelf trophy.
I think the rotating ones would be for anything that has like a really pretty binding, a really pretty cover, and pretty sprayed edges. It doesn't necessarily have to be my favorite book, but if every aspect of the book is gorgeous, I'm going to want to show off every aspect of the book.
See, because my favorite one, it's actually not uberly displayed. It's actually safety displayed because it's my most treasured of all my books. Like I think maybe in our first ever episode, we had made I was like, if my house is on fire, I'm saving this book. And jokingly, I would not sacrifice myself. There is, however, one book that I genuinely
I was going to say, do I need to make another PSA? Do not go into a burning house.
No, and the thing about this book, it's not even on this bookshelf. It's next to my nightstand, protected so that my children don't even know it's there or touch it. I have a first edition of To Kill a Mockingbird, which is my favorite book of all time. It was like one of the first books I read. I would say when I started reading more adult things with more adult content to them in the sense of like the contents of that book. I have a first edition of that book. My mom had it. She saved it for me until I was older and I had moved out and I was in my own home. And she gave it to me with a companion book of it where the authors like dedicated to each other. That is my most prized possession book-wise. I would potentially attempt to save that, like if the house is on fire, because there's something about all these other books. Realistically, I could replace, or I would weep, but they could go. That it's a first edition. I'm never going to replace that book if I lost it in like a fire situation.
Yeah.
But I also don't display it because that book is very old and she's very delicate.
Right.
Like it could never just be random. First of all, it doesn't fit the vibe of any of my random shelves. It also is just so delicate that if I don't want to risk the binding, like the pages are old, like some old pages. They look like, I don't know if you did this when you were in school, but when we were going over like colonial times, we had to take paper and like dye it in tea. It looks like the pages have been dyed in tea, they're aged. So I actually don't have that one displayed like these ones are, but it is my most prized trophy.
I actually have kind of a sad story, and it might actually be part of the reason I'm like, we're doing some more introspection here.
I love our little therapy sessions. Okay,
I know, our mini therapy. This is probably part of the reason why I don't have this urgency to do shelf trophies. Okay. So my dad gave my eldest years ago it wasn't like a first edition or anything like that. It wasn't like, but it was a leather bound copy of The Hobbit. Mm-hmm. And it had gold foiled edges and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. My daughter was 7.
Oh no.
She did not know. I tried to teach her at that point how to take care of books, but you know how kids are. Like they just don't get it. Okay. And they also think that whatever they add to it is going to make it more special. And it doesn't always. So that cover, it had stickers put on it. It had nail polish painted onto it. To the point where stickers were put on it and taken off to where like the foiling on the leather binding, like the engraving.
She's so lucky she was 7 because I would text her right now and be like, how dare you brutalize that book?
She was 7. And it was
I
printed
still love you.
Also, it was printed also in a way where the pages were really, really thin, like Bible pages. They were the really, really thin paper. And it didn't hold up with my 7-year-old. She read it. And that was the thing too, is my dad was very much like with all of our instruments, he was a very particular. We have in our family, it's been in our family for 7 generations. It's a violin that is over 300 years old. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's insane.
And me, I'm like, put that on a wall in a case. Don't let anybody touch it. He refused to do that kind of stuff. Anything that we had like that, he was like, does the violin want to sit on a wall or does the violin want to be played? The violin wants to be played. So he didn't do display things. Mm-hmm. So I felt like I couldn't take that copy of The Hobbit and have it displayed in her room, like she had to be able to read it and flip through it whenever she wanted to. Otherwise, it would not, it wouldn't be what my dad wanted.
I don't know necessarily that it was the Hobbit getting destroyed that did it to you, so much as it might just be something your dad instilled in you versus that book being destroyed.
Because it wasn't meant to be a shelf trophy. It was meant to be a special edition that was meant to be loved by my daughter. And it just didn't hold up because she was 7.
Took a beating. Yeah.
She was 7. I don't fault her for it at all. She has learned so much better now. But that put a bad taste in my mouth with shelf trophies for sure. Like special edition copies, things like that. I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, because you do still have...
Because I can't tell the kids, you can't read this book. Even though I purposely got you a book that's very pretty and special and is a book that you are going to or already love so much.
Well, see, your shelf trophies wouldn't be their shelf trophies.
Well, I know, but I don't know. I kind of have the same feeling for me. Like, if I'm going to get something special like that, I am going to want to use it, not just have it displayed. I'm not to that point where I just want displays of things that I appreciate. Like, all my ukuleles are very, very decorative, but I play every single one of them. I display them in a way that I can take them and play them. Books, I feel like it's different. They're more fragile.
Yes, I would say... For me, the number one thing I love the most about my shelf trophies, and I've read, like I said in an earlier podcast, my main goal is I never want to have more than 30 books on my shelf that I actually haven't read. And I've been actively working that goal down. Honestly, if I could be a person who only max owns like 10 books at a time that I haven't read simply because I just purchased a stack of books. I normally don't buy that many books at once, but just to be realistic, I'm never going to have none of my books I've never read like I do a one book. Yeah. So I think I'm actually closer to 20 now. I am trying to get that down to 10 and then just kind of stick within that range. One of my favorite things about mine is I am a memory person with my books. Like, I like looking at them and thinking of when I read it, or sometimes looking at the book like reminds me about the book. And I loved a book, but if you ask me about it, I might forget. But for some reason, when I'm physically looking at the book or I'm holding it and I'm randomly like flipping through it, it like sparks memories of when I read it, because I read a lot. Sometimes it's like a in one ear out the other thing because of how fast I read, but it's still in my brain. It just takes some like triggering things to like spark the memories of all of it. So for me, I can look at it and be like, oh, I read these books while we were camping in Maine and it was storming out, so we were stuck in the cabin for 2 days, so I went through 3 of them. Or I read this book, I loved it so much, I recommended it to Rubik's, and I changed her world, and she's never listening to an audiobook again in the car. Or
never in the car.
Never again. Or like, honestly, The Fourth Wing, looking at it, it reminds me of how many friendships I've created because of pushing the book onto Mel, who then pushed it on into everybody else. Or the Boys of Pullman series, I pushed you not to read, you did it anyway, and we started a podcast because of it. So like, for me, my shelf trophies are, yes, like I like
there's a lot of nostalgia there. I see it. Yeah.
So like, I like having people look at them and being like, oh, look at all the books you own, like, what'd you think of that book, or did you read that book? And I can be like, it gives me a reason to talk about them because I want to talk about them because I love them.
Yeah.
But also just for my own, because this bookshelf is in my bedroom and not many people are in my bedroom except for my children. So for me, it is like I get to look at them and have the memory of it. Or like, I loaned these to my mother and I loaned that one to my sister and she DNF'd on page 2 because she doesn't really like books like that. She likes graphic novels, but I tried anyway. And that book and that book and that book, and she DNF'd all of them. Thank you so much, Jordan, for ruining my average. I've never had a person never like at least one of my recs, because I've told her that she is the only person that refuses to like anything I've ever wrecked her. I've gotten everybody at least with one book. She has DNF'd every single thing I've ever handed to her. It is the thorn in my side, which, you know what? She's my youngest sibling, so like it's in her DNA. She has to humble me. So, but there's memories about that all when you read
the books that I've wrecked you. Okay. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
That's not fair, because I told you, I feel like the reasoning I told you why Northwind wasn't amazing for me was really valid. It wasn't even
It is
of
valid.
me being
I
a
didn't say
brat.
it wasn't valid.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's making me nervous because it was the first one and I was so sure about it. Like I literally searched and searched for something that you would want to read with me, that I could convince you to read with me. I thought I could get
You
Melon
did a
on
good
it,
job
too.
in that sense, though, because I didn't push it off. I wasn't a slump, which is why it delayed me starting it.
True.
I wanted to read it for October. I read it in October. I only started a week later, technically, from when we were going to do it together. It was just because my slump slowed me down. But I finished that book in 2.5 days. I liked it. It kept me there because I'm familiar with that story. It just wasn't
You just wanted
unique.
something different from it.
I wanted something more unique.
Yeah.
Because for me, I love
And I get that.
Stephanie.
I'm just saying, it put a little bit of a scary taste in my mouth because
Which
I'm like,
felt
this
really
is the
bad.
first one, and I worked so hard to find
You did. That's why
you would
I
want to
felt
read as
so
our
bad.
first rec. And I'm like, oh my God, she 3-starred this book.
I know. I'm sorry.
What's going to happen with all the other books that I'm trying to get her to read?
I still have good. You really put in the work to find something. And had I not had such a backlog of things following that Greek mythology, I told you I would have liked it a lot. Had I not read the Touch of Darkness series, it actually would have been great. However, I think because you do intend to read that, I don't know your timeline of when you want to read it, but I think when you read that one, you'll see what I'm talking about of how many parallels there were.
Oh, no, and I believe you. And I figured that that might be a thing. I just thought since it was like saying it was Beauty and the Beast and that, I was like, oh, maybe that's the different spin on it that she hasn't encountered yet. So I thought it would be okay. But I know that part of the reason why I liked it is it was all new to me because I've never read Hades and Persephone, retelling before. So it was all new to me. But I was just, I was already worried about that being the first rec that you read, where I'm like, what if nothing
Still liked it.
I thought, what if nothing ever measures up to this for anything else that I rec her? And then you 3-starred it, and I was like, and that was the one I was worried about. What if nothing ever measures up to? Oh my gosh, she's going to DNF everything I rec her.
No, it's only because, like, I try really hard to disconnect something that I've already read. It's hard with Hades and Persephone because their story is so set anyway.
Yeah, it seems very cut and dry.
Yeah, so there's not really only so many Hades Persephones you can read before they all just feel copy and paste, but change this, and that. And I still liked it. It is a book I would recommend people to. Like, it's not the best.
Did you at least like the one bed?
Yeah, the one bed was funny. And it's because you never really see the one bed done like that. And I thought it was pretty funny.
I was gonna say, you gotta at least like the one bed, because I know you love a good one bed. And
not only did I like it, I like that it kept happening, and she kept being like, "What the fuck is this?" Because she read smutty novels that she was like, "Am I in my own like fucked up smutty novel? Why is there one bed over and over again?" So
and the fact that he uses her words against her the next couple times it happens, I was losing it. I thought it was so funny. I was like, she's got to at least like the one bed.
Yeah, there were elements. That's why I didn't rate it poorly. It was still 3 stars. It's just, it's not a book that's going to become a shelf trophy.
That's fair.
And I don't
Although the cover is really pretty.
That's the thing that sucked. I actually was really hoping I would love it because the cover is
probably get that one as a shelf trophy because it's very pretty.
It's really pretty. And honestly, the next one's really pretty. The third one's pretty. They haven't released what the fourth one will look like.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine it's going to follow the same, just the different color for whatever she picks that color to be.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that kind of stinks is sometimes I'll see a book and I'm like, you're so pretty, but I didn't like that book, or I don't ever intend to read that book. So that sometimes could get me in trouble.
I feel about the Fate Inked in Blood. Like, the cover was so pretty and I really wanted to like it more than I actually did. Northwind, I will say, if I do start getting shelf trophies, Northwind will be a shelf trophy.
That'll be a pretty series to own.
Cover. It's really beautiful. The covers are really beautiful. And I was lucky enough, that's the second book I can say out of the ones I read in October where the covers were so pretty, and I would buy a physical copy of it.
It was also convenient because the second book came out November 12th.
That's true.
So it wasn't like you had to wait too long. Although it's not a series like that, which I didn't realize until we had finished. Where I was like, oh, it is interconnected standalone.
Yes. I'm also talking though about House of Salt and Sorrows.
Oh, yep.
That cover was gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I really hope I like this, because one, I've already like the whole 12 dancing princesses bickering moment.
Yeah,
I was really I've already really stood on this hill. I better like.
You're like, I'm gonna die on this hill.
Yeah, and I better like it here. Yeah. And I did. I love the story, and so I will probably buy that book. But it's also really, really, the cover's gorgeous. Mm-hmm. Here's the other thing too, and I'm curious how you feel about these. So 2-part question. Number 1, How do you feel about hardcovers and taking off book jackets?
Like while you read them?
No, like for display.
Oh, just taking the book jacket off to display?
Yeah.
It depends what's underneath. Like, I wouldn't do it for the Empyreans because there's nothing pretty behind those. Mm-hmm. But there are some hardcovers, like my special editions of the Souls trilogy. It could go either way. Like, honestly, I would be content with just the hardcover or the dust jacket. I will say I like companies who do special edition hardcovers and the special print is the hardcover. There's no dust jacket. Because I kind of hate dust jackets.
I hate dust jackets so much.
They're so flimsy. They're so delicate.
They don't hold up well. They get
fucked up so easily. Yeah, they're just like, they're annoying. I take them off when I read it. Right,
the dust jacket gets messed up, so the actual cover doesn't. But it just it's too.
It's annoying.
Yeah, it's too flimsy. It doesn't hold up well enough.
Yeah, I'm not like my Harry Potters. All of their dust jackets are fucked up. I've owned them for like 2 decades, but they're like, I can see my Order of the Phoenix right now. Like, that bad boy's dust jacket has seen better days, but the hardcover inside is not at all pretty. So I'm stuck with these raggedy little dust jackets.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get rid of them because, like, I've owned them for so long. At this point, they, like, tell a story for how raggedy they are.
For sure. Yeah, they're loved. It's like the Velveteen Rabbit, right?
Yes.
Oh, I was going to say, tell me.
No. I do know that one. It took me like a millisecond, but yes, I do know that one. Listen, I read a lot of bunny books to the little, so I had to like decipher. He really likes Peter Rabbit, so that my brain went to Peter Rabbit. I was like, no, Velveteen.
Yeah, Velveteen Rabbit, where it was well loved. Yeah. It was tattered and stuff because it was well loved. So here's another question then. How do you feel about the rebinding videos on like TikTok and Instagram?
I love them because they also bleed into like bookbinding of fan fiction, which, by the way, do not buy that. That is illegal. You need to do it yourself. Do not buy bound fan fiction. That's illegal. But I do think like Danya learned how to bind so she could bind some Harry Potter fanfics. They come out beautiful. It sucks because it is illegal. Don't do it. But sometimes you're like, oh, those are so pretty. Why am I not talented? I want to do that.
I actually have, the more videos I see, the more I'm like, oh, I could totally do that. Like, I am that crafty person that
I'm not, but I tricked myself into, like, I could do that. No, I couldn't. What Delulu ass brain do I have? No, I could not.
No, I could totally do it because if I can quilt, like, quilting takes such, like, I've done quilting by hand and I've done quilting like with machines and like embroidery and the actual sewing machines, and I can do that. I love watching those videos. They're very just like, I could get stuck watching them for hours.
Those and the people who paint their own edges for their books.
Yes,
Insane.
I've seen those too. I've started seeing those where they do the sprayed edges.
I'm trying to convince Tish to start learning how to do that so she can paint the edges on mine.
Here's my thing. If I'm going to get shelf trophies, I want that style of shelf trophies. Like, I want the ornate hardcover, no dust jacket, beautiful ornate hardcover and sprayed edges. And I've even seen some, and I'm not exactly, it's not that I like them as much. I like the idea of them, but I've seen videos of specifically the ACOTAR books where it's like, you know, those, what is it called? Those diamond paintings.
I swear to God, I was just thinking I'm going to wait till you were done with your thought. And I was going to ask you, how do you feel about people who bedazzle their covers.
Yeah, they did the like diamond painting ones with like, oh, okay. And I wouldn't want it like that, but a combination of like the linen, like the fabric or leather binding with the ornate patterns, and then like the middle symbol being like the rhinestones, I think that would be really, really pretty. So those types of hardcovers and special editions, I'd totally do that. I don't know how much I would spend on them, but I would totally rebind them myself if I ever got to the point where I was willing to try doing that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's something I would do.
I don't have the patience. I've seen someone who she bedazzled Iron Flame. It took her 47 hours to finish bedazzling that book. And I was like, listen. I don't
think I would do the whole thing. I would do a great deal of it.
The front cover.
Yeah. No, I know. I don't think I would do the whole front cover.
Yeah, she did. And I was like, it looks cool at the end.
Like the main designs or like the dragons.
The whole thing.
I would do.
Like, and she even how in the circle of Fourth Wing, it's a rider without its dragon, like that whole thing. She even did those bits, and she had to get like the
how?
She went that's 47 hours. I was like, that's super have a patience that I as a mother don't even have. Like, I would quit that so fast.
I think the first one that I saw was somebody did one for Silver Flames from the ACOTAR series, and that one, because of the mask, is it the mask? Yeah, because of the mask, all in rhinestones, I was like, hold up, this is really pretty.
See, I feel like that one wouldn't be as bad because the book is orange and black, and then like whatever the color, but like that's why, like, Iron Flame, you got orange, you got yellow, you got red, you got black, you got what? Like, there's too many colors on that. No, there's too many colors on that, and that's too much work. And that's the other thing, is the people who I see doing those ones, it's on paperback. That after a while is going to start separating from the rest of the book. But you wouldn't get that with the intent to like stack it in a normal bookshelf sense. That would need to be displayed. And I don't know if I think it looks pretty. I just don't think it's for me. Like, I like looking at it. I don't think I would ever buy it. I'm more of the sprayed edges, the fancy binding, the cool cover art. I don't need the extra embellishment stuff. That's just, it looks cool. I'm like a lazy trophy girly. Like, I already want it done, completed, and simple but pretty. I don't need the extraness of it.
See, and I think if I'm going to go that extra mile to actually buy a shelf trophy, I think I want it to be either I want it to be more than just this is a book I love and read, but I'm even considering, and this is,
it sounds like you want your shelf trophies to be like artwork.
Yes. I mean, that's kind of what they are, right? They are a work of art that you're displaying that you love. So why not like take that the full 9 yards? You know, I think that
is like,
I know. I'm just saying,
people who know us, these are our personalities. Rubik's is extra and I'm lazy as fuck. And that is like, that, like, the way the two of us would, if you were a book collector,
and I have never considered myself extra. The fact that you keep saying that about me is so funny.
But that's the thing. Everyone who knows us knows I am lazy and you are extra with stuff.
I think that that's the only way I would do it, though, because I'm also cheap, man. Like, I don't want to spend money on something I could do myself. I don't want to spend money on something I could make myself. I would rather save half the money, even save $10 and just make it myself. So I feel like if I'm going to do a shelf trophy, I'm going to buy the book used, like in reasonable, like nice condition, but like probably from a Half Price Books or some kind of a thrift bookstore, and learn how to rebind it myself, make the cover something my own, like design something that, you know, puts a visual representation of what I loved out of the book, and make it like really pretty, spray the edges myself maybe, and like then I'll display it. Because then it's like not just I bought this copy that was pretty-ish are prettier than the other copies of a book I loved that I read one time and will never read again. It's like
I think that's the biggest
I
factor
put my love
for you.
into it. Yeah, I can't
reread
just
a lot.
do something that I'm not going to read it again.
My thing is too, I'm not necessarily a rereader where I read the entire book again. There are many of these books that I've picked up just to reread a chapter or to reread a moment in the book. Like, I may not necessarily read the entire thing. A couple of them, I mean, I definitely reread a lot of these over again, the whole shabam. But there are, like, the first of the Souls trilogy, Her Soul to Take, is actually my least favorite of the three. And again, I love that series. So saying it's my least favorite of the three is like it was still 4.5 stars. Like, it's not least favorite. It's just of the three, I do like the other two more.
It's like chocolate is my least favorite flavor out of, I can't even finish that. Chocolate is my life. So
yeah, you love chocolate. But there's
coffee is my least favorite caffeinated beverage. Well, I drink 4 cups a day. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. But there's a chapter in that I constantly go back to just to reread because it gives me the hee vibes. So for me, I like picking up my books and just like rereading sections and parts, which I'm a Kindle user. You can't really go back into it. Like, what if I don't even have that book downloaded and you'd have to flip to where it is? Because I annotate and I use tabs a lot in my paperbacks when I'm in the mood for it, especially. So I can just easily go right back to it. Like in my first copy of Her Soul to Take, the paperback I bought, there's a ton of tabs in that one. So I know where the chapters or the moments are to go back and reread it, which is why I think that's where we separate, because there is purpose for me with my books of having them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other from being talking pieces, I do go back to them a lot.
Yeah. And I would not.
Yeah.
I read it once. I remember things well enough to where I would not need to go back and reread it for any reason. I'd rather go back and read like reading journal pages or something about my specific notes on the book rather than reading the whole book over again.
See, I have a good memory. I just like to relive it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like, but would you relive it the same?
No, it's the nostalgia of it. So for our reviews, when we were doing The Boys of Toman and we were looking up key points to talk about, I ended up rereading a lot of that in like just the little parts that I was in, just because it's, again, I've said like that's a series that if I could relive that series for the first time, I would do anything to do because it just impacted me so much. But there's still parts of it where like, I don't know, it's almost like revisiting how I felt when I read it. But now because I've never reread those books all the way through, I still need more time before I like go down that rereading journey with those books. But now knowing what I know, rereading things in like Binding 13, it is almost like reading it with new eyes.
Earlier,
yeah, because I know everything that's out as of right now. Versus the first time I read Binding 13, it was all new. So there were certain things, like when we were talking about it with like your opinions of Johnny, I didn't see it the same way you did. So I had gone back when we were talking about certain things for like my own bullet point and to just try and see through your perspective of certain events. So it is like even though I've read it, even though I've experienced it, I feel like I can still sometimes feel something new with a reread, which is, I think we're just in different. I've read so much now that rereading isn't necessarily an issue for me, whereas you were just still starting out and your TBR is like, you still want to expand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like for me now, rereads help recenter my brain because of how many books I read a year. Like I've reread 3 or 4 books so far this year, maybe 5. I'm trying to think. Like legitimately, like from page 1 till ending the book. Like I've reread a ton of random spots in multiple books, but like legitimate sat down page 1 to finish, I think it's 4 or 5 that I've reread this year.
Yeah, see, the only book that I think I have ever reread is Fourth Wing. But it was because I was picking up on things and had theories that I wanted to talk about, or arguments things that were being questioned by other people. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go back and read it again and see how I feel about it. And I think I read Fourth Wing actually 4 times.
I was going to say, you definitely read that more than twice.
I did. I read it more than twice, but I reread it for that purpose. I will probably reread it again.
I think most of us plan to do the big rereads December, January for both of them to get ready for Onyx Storm.
I'm going to reread it just in time for Onyx Storm to come out. Mm-hmm. That I'm rereading also with a purpose because it's been a full year.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
a little bit of a refresher.
I have to.
I remember a lot of my theories still, but I wasn't keeping a reading journal at the time. Mm-hmm. And all of we text so damn much. So everything that I texted you guys that I thought about it, I don't know where to find that because we have so many I'd be doom scrolling in our text messages for hours trying to find it.
A lot of those conversations we had in the TBR group chat, but I was just talking with Tish about this, that like we're both like, we almost have to because we've only read Iron Flame. Each of us, we've only read Iron Flame once. We were the first two in the entire like big server of Iron Flame to finish it because we read it in 24 hours. So there's like big moments of that book that still, of course, like stand out to me. Like the one thing that like devastated me in the middle of that book. Right. And like that stands out. The entire ending still stands out because again, it's just like these big moments. But there's a lot of those like in-betweeny things. Like people will say something and I'm like, did we read the same book or did I just like, because again, 24 hours. Like
did I glaze over that?
Yeah. And you know me, I am a tired girl. Like if I don't get the proper amount of sleep at night, I'm a brat. I don't function. Like the world does not exist. Yeah. Like I need my sleep. Reading that book on only 3 hours of sleep in between the 24 hours of reading it, I released some of that information that didn't feel important to me, but I want to reread it, stuff like see that what I forgot.
And the things that are like the next thing is coming out. Like there are things that we were told were going to come out more in Onyx Storm that we have technically already read bits of in Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. And so it's like, wait, what? Wait, where? What did I miss? Like,
see, but that's why like she
got to go back and read it just to figure out where it was and
when
what
she was
I
teasing
read.
us for stuff on the Instagram, and she was referencing chapters. It was so nice to have my bookshelf and just walk on over and be like, what the hell is she talking about? And like just going to chapter 25 and chapter 27 and all the other random chapters she kept referencing. But then there's also like when I will see something, there's a spoiler on the cover of the original copy of Redeeming Six that I had no idea was there. And I remember it was either you or Maddie, or I think you actually both sent it to me of like, if only I looked at the cover, I would have seen a huge spoiler for the book. I ran to my original copy, looked where it was supposed to be, and I was like, are you kidding me? How did I not notice that was there?
Yeah, it's a huge thing when you're looking for it. But when you're not looking for it, you glaze past it so easily.
At this point, I just need to make a list of authors. I just need to make a list of authors who love Taylor Swift because then I can't trust them anymore because Chloe Walsh, Elle Kennedy, they are huge Taylor Swift fans and they do nothing but Easter eggs. Rebecca Yarros, huge Taylor Swift fan. She does a fucking ton of Easter eggs and she uses Taylor Swift references to do it. And I'm like, this is why I need shelf trophies because now with these little masterminds out here of authors who are trying to play with me, I need to go check the books of what they're trying to Easter egg at.
Yeah, but then how did you feel with the bonus chapters that were released of like Fourth Wing and Iron Flame later?
So
after you bought your special sprayed edges and stuff.
I didn't actually buy my Fourth Wing. It was on a gift card someone had got me. So I like to girl math. I didn't buy that. I bought the holiday Fourth Wing that had the 2 bonus Zayden chapters in it. Then this bitch releases the paperback Fourth Wing, and now there's more bonus content. And this is something popular, unpopular, I'm not sure. Maybe we could phone a friend or pull the audience. There is something that pisses me off when Barnes & Noble has an edition, Target has an edition, Amazon has an edition, the author on their website has an edition. So there's 4 or 5 editions going on, but they're the same cover, but all of them have a secret chapter, but it's different in every single one. That
I have not encountered that, but I would
be
driven crazy.
And Anna Huang,
I'd go crazy.
You and I read all of your stuff. However, I think Lauren Asher's done it, and then there's another author who did it too. where they all will release a book with all of those different people, and all of those different people get a bonus chapter, but it looks the exact same. The only difference, and that's the thing, is if they were all different, like this one was sprayed and it was blue, and this one's sprayed and it's purple, but there's a different cover, and they all have a different chapter, then maybe I could see like rationalizing
because they're outwardly different.
Yes. So when it comes to like Anna Huang, again, I love her. You know, I have an entire shelf dedicated to her. She notoriously has 3 or 4 editions going, and every single one has a different bonus chapter from another one. And I exclusively only buy the Target ones because for those ones, they do have the bonus chapter, but their binding is different than all the other, the spine is different than all the other ones. So I exclusively get the Target ones because of the spine.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I'm spiteful, I'm just kind of like, I was not meant to know what was in those bonus chapters. Fuck it. I don't know. That's how I feel about the paperback Fourth Wing. Because I didn't snap it to you, but I was Snapchatting because my family has a business and we do booths in our town when there's like events to sell things. Whoever hates us put my family of readers across the street from the local mom and pop bookstore. And we were all like, we'll make it. But then it was really cold. So you know what you do when it's really cold? You go inside a building. And what building is next to us? The bookstore. What did we all do? We went in and we all bought a book. Do you know which book was featured in the front? The goddamn Fourth Wing paperback with the dragon sprayed on the edges. And I kept looking at my mom. I was like, I don't need it. She's like, okay, you don't need it. I was like, I know, but I want it. She's like, but you said you don't need it. I was like, I know, but there's more chapters in there. And look, there's dragons on it. Like, it puts everything in me to remind myself I don't need it because I have 2 editions of Fourth Wing that are hardcover, and I don't need a paperback because it's just going to throw off the aesthetic of my other hardbacks for that series. But there was that part of me that's like, I hate you, Rebecca Yarros. Why is there another bonus chapter in this one?
I have to say, when all that happened, that was when you were really starting with me on the whole like shelf trophies thing. And every time a new version came out, I was laughing at y'all.
Thank you, Rebecca Yarros, for that. Exactly.
I was laughing at y'all because I knew, it was like, see, if I had bought it like she told me to, I'd be so upset that this wasn't in there.
See, I'm a great friend because if you recall, in our Imperium series server, I was one of the only people whose edition came in on time and there was no issues with it. And I took a picture of every single page and I posted for everybody so that you could all read it without needing to buy it.
That's
so true. I'm waiting for someone who's going to cave first and buy the paperback edition and share it with us like the way I did. Like, someone else has to be the hero. It's not going to be me. I'm not caving and buying that paperback edition. Like, I have no shelf control, but I am trying. And I cannot girl math my way into 1 extra Xaden chapter. I can't. Which, like, honestly, you should like be so proud of me because look at me go. But
I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
And the Anna Huang only buying the 1, I'm so proud.
That one will always drive me nuts. And again, I love her so much. I buy everything she releases. I'm just annoyed that every edition has a different bonus chapter than the next one. And I'm not buying 4 copies of a book that looks identical. The only difference is the chapter in the back is different.
I wouldn't do that either. And I mean, that's where I know that I'm not completely opposed to shelf trophies.
Mm-hmm.
I have many strong justifications for why I haven't gone down that road yet. The main reason, because I know that once I go down that road, it's going to be steep. Okay. Yeah. I know I'm going to be spending money. I know I'm going to be wanting to buy a whole bunch of books, especially since I have been reading so much lately and I have been reading so many books that I absolutely love. I'm going to want to buy a whole bunch of books. So in my mind, it's like, okay, I can't do that because once I start, it's a steep slope. So I guess...
look at Mel.
Other justification.
Mel's entire collection happened in a year.
The thing is, I think that the only way I'm going to be able to put brakes on when I start going down that slippery slope is by saying, okay, I'm only going to do them if there are things that I have bound myself or if they are custom rebinds. Things that are special that I can't just easily, if it's too easy for me to get a hold of them, I'm going to spend too much money.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 1 million children to feed. I can't be spending.
So what I'm hearing is if I just wait like 12, 13-ish years when majority of your children are out of the house, I got a chance to get you down that hill. Because in like 12, 13 years, you might only have one, maybe two still in the household.
I mean, hell, I have no reservations really about starting like a little pet project of like learning how to rebind and like making my own covers. I mean, I do the graphic design stuff anyway. I would really enjoy that actually, like just redesigning a really pretty cover for books that I already love, showcasing some of the things, like a visual representation of the things in that book that I loved, any kind of symbolism or anything like that. And then like doing my own like little custom rebind. I think that would be a lot of fun. I have no issues with that.
So you would be the shelf trophy collector though that doesn't let anyone borrow those books.
I think I would let people borrow them.
So House of Leaves, you would probably be more inclined to let someone borrow that one.
Yeah.
Versus, but what if you custom did like an ACOTAR and you bedazzled the front of it? Would you let someone borrow that? What if they returned it to you and some of the little diamondy pieces were popped off?
I mean, if I made it, then I would just replace it.
Wow, you're such a nice person.
I am.
Just because I've seen some, like it depends for me for who I would let borrow my books. Like my mom, my sisters, my cousin, like all of them, I would absolutely let it borrow a book. But if like some random other mom at parent pickup was like, oh, you have that book, can I borrow it? No, I don't know you. Don't come near me. Don't touch my bookshelf. That's part of the nice thing.
It would be also subject to who we're talking about me lending it to, right? I'd lend you any of my books.
That's what I always think. I'm like, we need our little compound.
I lend my kids any of these books?
Well, your oldest. We can trust your oldest.
No, I would probably trust her. The other ones are still learning. They're still learning. They need a little more years. But like, would I let my brother borrow one of them? Probably not. Would I let my brother-in-law borrow them? Probably not. They're guys. They just don't care about the books like we do.
I'd probably let my brother. My brother would be very respectful.
I mean, like, my sisters and my sister-in-law, like I'd probably
the way you were almost so ready and you're like, hold on, let me reevaluate before I say this.
I'm reevaluating. My sisters, I would let them borrow it because they are, not only would they respect my books, but I also know that they would respect it if it's something with custom art that I've done. I know they would take care of it for that reason too. They wouldn't want to mess up something that I worked hard on. So I would let people borrow my books.
So this is another thing I think that's nice about the collecting of books. Not like the special edition ones, but just like in general. My mom doesn't have a Kindle tradition, like a Kindle. So she loves coming to the Library of Tea. My family calls me Tea. And then my cousin Mandy, she has a different set of books that she collects because she doesn't really do romance. She's more in the thriller genre and out in fantasy. So my mom likes to call us her libraries because she checks books out from the two of us because she's now collecting. But then my other sister doesn't really collect any books, so she collects from us. So it's nice for them that we're collectors and we let them borrow our books because we have the paperback so they don't have to buy them. But my like special editions, I won't let anyone touch.
I think it would depend on the people, but yeah, I would probably let people borrow the books, even if I made like custom covers. Like, I'd do that because I would just fix it.
Special editions, though. Would there be a dollar amount behind it?
Don't dog-ear them. Don't break the binding. Don't.
Yeah, like the off-campus that have the blue sprayed edges and there's really nothing extra fancy to them other than being blue sprayed edges. Mm-hmm. That's not, to me, isn't like a special edition. But the Souls trilogy, that was $90. And like all the pages are black with like they're custom and beautiful. No one is touching those. No one is breathing on those except for me.
Yeah, no, spending that much on it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So like if yours is like you bought a Court of Thorns and Roses for like $6 from a half price book and then you customized it, I could see that being like, you didn't spend too much money going into that. Mainly your time is what went into that book.
Right.
And if you trust the person, I could see that. But what if you bought
the person, I'm also going to be handing it to them saying, this is several hours of my blood, sweat, tears. I lost fingerprints in the process of creating this. Please commit gentle.
Now. But what if it was, I think I've sent it to you. There's that special, there's only one. So I know I've never shown it to you because I know you're not going to buy it because they only did the one years ago. So you know they're not going the rest of them.
Right.
There's a special edition ACOTAR. It's like black with gold foil. It's like $40. Would you loan anyone that one? See?
If
That's
I
what I'm saying.
spent
There's
$40 on it, no.
Okay. So your special edition's more of like, if you specialized it, sure. If you spent the coin for a very special, not a chance. Okay. See, that's where I fall with that too.
I wouldn't
like
say not a chance.
loaning
I'd
books
say
out.
probably not. It would have to be somebody that I really trust saying, I know that this person's going to return it in the same condition I'm handing it to them in.
See, I don't think anyone, I think the only person I would maybe consider would be my mom, but I think my mom would be too afraid because she already knows how crazy I am about my regular books of like, don't break the spine. I think I would show her and she would be, no, I know she would because I've seen her do it with other things. She would put those like safety gloves to not get her fingerprints on them. Like I think my mom would be the only one I would trust. But I think she'd be too afraid because,
because you've already scarred her.
Listen, my books come back in pristine condition.
Yeah.
I've trained her.
If I'd been scarred that way, I'd make sure they did too.
I'm letting loose a little bit because my sister borrowed my ACOTAR series. And first of all, she thought she destroyed the Wings and Ruin version. And I was like, this is fine. She was like, the spine's a little beat up. And I looked at it, I was like, no, it's not. In my head, when she said beat up, I thought it's like she broke the spine and it was like pilling on the spine. And I was like, if anything, I like that it looks a little more loved and used now. Mainly because my sister travels a lot for her job. So I was like, this book has been to Oregon. This book's been to Florida. This book has been to Colorado, like for her job. So I was like, this book has traveled more places than I have. So it's kind of fun that like my book now has a story from how much
of traveling ACOTAR.
Yeah. But so she was like, I'm like, I think I might be putting fear in my family when it comes to borrowing some of my books because she was like, I might need to buy you a new one.
And it trickled down is what you're saying.
Yeah. To be fair, though, I was more understanding for ACOTAR because Wings and Ruin is a big boy. She a thick book. It's really hard not to do something to that book.
Yeah, and it's so big.
It's not that expensive of a book to replace. So I was like, honestly, if it was bad enough, I wouldn't make her replace it. I would, because she's my sister. I'm not going to make her do it. I'll just do it myself. Because I was like, well, if it's that bad, then like I might just have her keep it, and then I'll just buy myself a new series of all of them and just let her keep mine. But she didn't do anything to it. But it was funny. I was like, wow, I might have scarred my family for how they take care of my books. But it's fine because all my books come out beautiful. If we lived closer together, I don't even know if you'd want to borrow any of my books. My tiniest shelf is my fantasy shelf, so I don't think...
I mean, I read everything. I read most everything with an audiobook anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't see a reason to have physical books, except for House of Leaves because of the way you have to read it. That's the first time I've ever been like, I need this physical book.
Mm-hmm. And I don't own any books like that, so... Yeah.
I mean, you have to for this one. Ergodic books, you have to have the physical copy to be able to navigate through them. It's a whole experience. So I had to have the physical copy of this. Otherwise, I don't see a reason to, because I'm either going to do an audiobook anyway. If I am going to do more than the audiobook, I would have to do like the PDF or the Kindle version to go along with the audio. That's the only way I would read other than audiobook for most of the books that I read.
You're not a paperback girly. Okay. I feel like that's part of the equation that I'm forgetting for you is you're not a paperback person anyway. Even when you're doing your audiobooks, you're not paperbacking with the audiobook. So
any books that I own, it's either going to be because they're ergodic books and you have to read the physical copies, or it's going to be because they're shelf trophies. So if I'm going to buy a book, it needs to be either ergodic or it needs to be real fancy where I would justify spending the money on it.
Yeah. I'll just have to keep trying. I'm just going to keep finding books that are like really fancy special editions and just keep sending them to you and just waiting for one day for you to cave.
I'm not completely beyond it. I mean, look, I've bought those really pretty copies at Barnes & Noble of like the classics, like the fairy tales. I've bought those, but those are kids.
Different. I know, but I'm saying for you.
I know. I'm just saying I'm not above it because I've gotten those for the kids. I mean, because I want those to be special books for them, but they're also made to kind of like be held up. You know, they hold up better for kids. For me, though, I just don't have a reason.
That's what I'm saying. This goes into our cute little therapy session of you will do stuff for your children and you can absolutely justify it. But when it comes to doing something for yourself, there's no such thing as a justification.
Listen, I don't know why you're yelling at me right now.
It's fine. I yell about
it's a little early for that.
Daily. It's fine. There's no one I send the treat yourself thing to more than you. Because you won't do it. Nope. I'll get you.
No, I just don't see. I don't have a reason to.
You know what I should just start doing? I'm just going to start Amazoning them to you.
I am very, very tempted, though, to learn how to rebind and do it myself. That is a way you can get me on the shelf trophy train.
Listen, if you learned how to do that, I'm sending books to you to do for me.
I would do that. I would do that. Birthday and Christmas. There you go.
Perfect. Since my birthday is immediately after Christmas, it's just a back-to-back. All right. So I guess you won't be a shelf trophy buyer, but you'll be a shelf trophy maker.
I could do that. Yeah.
Okay. So
anything that's a craft, I'm gonna do. Come on.
Yeah, you are artsy like that.
I am the crafty one.
I, in my head, I'm too lazy to.
You're too lazy to be a crafter.
Because I just get so annoyed or frustrated, and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Seriously, but I would totally create some really pretty covers that are all the things that I love about the book, and then I would definitely make them. Mm-hmm.
I bet you there's like TikToks or Instagram reels of people who do it as like how-tos or YouTube tutorials.
I'm totally going to look them up as soon as we're done with this.
We're going to check back in 6 months on this exact topic, and we're going to see if Rubik's has become a binder or not. We'll see if we've gotten her to hyperfixate on a new thing.
I mean, I'm telling you, I'll do it. I'm telling you, it is not far-fetched for me to do this.
No. Honestly, the more I'm thinking about this, the more I'm like, wait, how can I make this a win for me too? I'm going to start sending you my copies of things and be like, so I would like this. Oh my God, I should get you into it because my favorite book from last year, I hate the cover of. And I would love if it looked like something else.
Yeah. Hey man, buy me a Cricut. I'll do all the things.
We're going to talk after this. We're going to get you into this. We're going to figure out how to fund the Cricut, and we're going to get you into binding.
That works for me.
All right. So you're not a shelf trophy girl today, but we'll check back in 6 months. We'll see how you're doing in 6 months.
Yeah. I'll be the extra shelf trophy.
You really would be, though.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope you enjoyed the vibes. If you want to keep up to date, make sure you're following us on Instagram and TikTok. And if you have some favorite shelf trophies, post them on your Instagram with the hashtag Booktrovert trophies so we can see and we'll comment.
Yes, because I want to see everybody's shelf trophies. And if you want to watch us live, follow us on Twitch where you can get in on the action and chat. And we'll be posting the video to YouTube later, so you can check us out on there as well.
Till next time, you are awesome. You're doing great.
We love you. Now stop stalling and go read that book.
Bye.